All right. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, good morning. Good morning. We're here with Kristy Gerlett.
Ring-a-ling.
Hi. My
Hi.
phone rang right then. Good. Good. Can you hear yourself or not?
I can.
You can?
Yeah, can you hear
Man,
me?
I am having one problem after another today.
The audio today.
Let's see. All right. Well, 1 2 1 2. I think everyone can hear us, so we're good.
Testing.
So what's going on, Kristy Gerlett?
Hey guys, hey Toledo, hey Perrysburg.
So you might know Kristy if you haven't listened to the morning show. She's been coming in, hanging out with us. But if you know Kristy from Channel 11, Channel 13, she was a journalist at both those stations. You've been a journalist your whole life, right? I mean, your whole adult life since you went to school. That's what
Done
you
a
went to
few
school
things. Yeah, I did.
So-
I always wanted to be.
What school did you go to?
Stony Brook University on Long Island.
So let's go back even further. Where are you? Get right up on that mic. What are you doing, girl?
I know. I should know better, right?
Where are
I
you
should know better.
from originally?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Bay Area.
San
San
Francisco.
Francisco Bay Area. I was born on the Presidio military base there.
So are you a military girl then? Did you travel around?
Yeah, so my mom's from the Bay and my dad's from Brooklyn, and they both met in the military. They were both Army medics.
Gotta get on.
Yeah.
Gotta get right on it.
Oh, okay.
Killing
All
me.
right. I'll do the. I'm sorry. I
Like-
feel like. Oh, there we go.
Is that better?
We're good now.
All right.
Okay.
So you grew up in the Bay Area, and then
Yeah.
you went to school, and then you went to what school did you go to for college?
Stony Brook,
Stony
on
Brook.
Long Island. Yep. And so I have
Never heard of
California and New York. I had my first TV job in Texas. So traveled a lot. I always wanted to see different parts of our country and live in different parts of the U.S.
And then you got your first job in Texas, and then when you ended up here,
I'm having a bit of an echo. Sorry. Let me
I don't
take
know what
that.
is going on. I
It's helpful.
cannot do anything right today.
It's okay.
So when you
just gonna go like this.
hold on. So you traveled around, and when you got to Toledo, what stop was this? How many stops did this been? So you started in Texas.
Yep. So this 13 was my second station, and then 11 was my third.
So you started Texas, then got the job at 13,
Yep.
and then went to 11.
And then went to 11, yeah.
And
And,
then
we
when
cover Northern Ohio, Southern Michigan, whole area.
And then you were at Channel 11, and then something tragic happened.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, my mom passed away unexpectedly. And it just kind of, her death in and of itself was obviously horrific. But then all of the case started to unfold, and I decided to kind of just deep dive into it.
So was your mom living with you?
Yes.
She was
in
living
Ohio.
with you, and then what year was that?
She passed away in 23, February 9th of 23.
And then you were still at Channel 11 at the time.
I was still there on air. She actually passed away. I was just maybe 3 months into 11, and then I had to take some time off. I was having some PTSD symptoms and some issues that I needed to handle. And then I went back, and then I had to take time off again once the case started to kind of get
It
crazy.
hit you hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you talk to my family and friends, they would tell you that they don't think that I still kind of have processed what happened in my apartment that morning. And
What happened? Where were you? What happened?
Yeah, so my mom had a heart attack when she was in my apartment. It was not major, but she was complaining about chest pain, and she had fallen, and she, it was like, we got to go to the hospital. And so I took her to the hospital, and they started to do tests, and they found issues with her heart, and they said, you need surgery, you need triple bypass. So I took her to the ER. She then stayed there in preparation for the triple bypass, and that was obviously very scary, right? And when she survived the surgery, I just felt like I could breathe. That was a rough time in that waiting room, and but she survived the surgery and was recovering. She was in ICU, and then she was recovering at my apartment after the hospital released her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there at my apartment for about a week. And then the morning of February 9th happened.
Was she feeling okay? Like, was it sudden, or?
You're talking about the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she died of a blood clot to her lung. I didn't know that at the time, right? But I was in bed with my dog, and she called out for me. It was pretty early in the morning, and so I woke up, and she was sitting on the toilet, and she was kind of leaning onto the sink, and she was just profusely sweating, like actual physical droplets of sweat on her. I remember that very vividly.
Oh my God.
I have very vivid memories of that morning, and then there's parts where I don't have any recollection.
Right.
So she said she was having trouble breathing. I saw her sweating. She obviously was, things were coming out. It was not a good situation. And I went to, there was like an iPad thing for the at-home nurse to call in case of an emergency or help. And I went to grab the iPad, and it wasn't working. And so I immediately called 911. And actually, to this day, I have not been able to hear my 911 call. I'm hoping that as time goes on, I can listen to it, but I haven't.
It's crazy because I think that's super common is that surgeries will go fine, and they tell you got to get up, you got to walk around, you got to do this, whatever. For blood clots are super common when it comes to surgeries that you think go well, and then all of a sudden you have blood clot, and it.
Well, pulmonary embolism is just lethal. It happens so fast. So
Yeah.
I call 911, and I remember I had laundry everywhere in the living room, actually, and so I remember just grabbing the laundry and shoving it in her bedroom. I put one dog in one room and another dog in another room, and then the firefighters showed up, and there was 3 of them. I actually got to meet them later down. I think it was a year later. But so the firefighters come in, and they kind of wheeled her in from her office chair from the bathroom down the hallway into the living room. And she was alert, but I could tell she was having issues breathing. And I was like, well, how can I help? And so I sat on the couch, and I kind of spread my legs, and she was in between my legs, and I was kind of holding her up, and they had put the heart monitor stuff on her, and she was sitting up and leaning on me, and the paper was printing, so you could see the heart rhythm. And there was one firefighter was on the floor, and the other 2 were standing, and as the paper was printing with her heart rhythm, I said, is she okay? Something like that. Is it normal? And then she just, eyes rolled, collapsed.
So you watched it happen.
Yeah, and then you could see the line just go flat. And I just started to scream, and I was like, oh my God. They laid her down in the living room on the rug. And then I think I always thought that death was like a movie, like a peaceful, you close your eyes, and it wasn't like that at all. Her eyes got very big, her pupils dilated, and then in the foreground was the flat line, and they immediately started CPR, and I just got on my hands and knees, and I was screaming for her, screaming for God. And then it just was a lot. I mean, they were in my apartment almost, I believe, maybe 45 minutes. I mean, more people came, and they were just moving all the furniture and trying to resuscitate her. And like I said, I was just on my hands and knees, and I was pounding the floor, screaming. And then I do have a vivid memory of, I was, screaming for her and asking, God to save her, hang in there, fight. And then I picked up the phone, called a coworker, and who was at the hospital when she had her surgery, waiting with me. And I was like, I thought she was having, clearly her heart stopped. And so I was like, you need to come here. And then I went back to scream. It was a horrible scene. But I was in chaos, but the firefighters that morning, they were completely calm. It was total. I just felt like a silence, a calm. I remember the dogs barking very vividly, and then I don't have a recollection of them barking. And one of the firefighters came over, and because I was very loud, right? I mean, I'm I'm screaming and wailing, and he had suggested that they need to focus, and I walked out the apartment, and by that time my neighbor underneath me had heard me screaming. I later found out that she thought I was getting attacked, like stabbed, because of the way that I was screaming and save her. And, so I walk out the apartment, the neighbor comes up, and she grabs me, and then we go outside, and I just got on my knees in like what used to be like a flower bed, but February was very cold. It was probably below freezing that morning. I felt no cold though when I was outside of the apartment building, and then I just started to pray, and then I remember my coworker arriving, and the firefighter had come down and said they were going to transport her. And I said, okay, I didn't want to see her body. So I remember my eyes were covered, and then they covered my ears. So when they were removing her, and then they had said that she had still had a pulse at that time. The coworker then, got me in her car, and I walked into the ER, and I vomited outside. And then I walk in, and they knew who I was. They brought me immediately into a room, and then the doctor, it was right away. The doctor came in, and I immediately just kept saying, "Did she make it? Is she alive? Did she make it?" And he's like trying to describe to me what they did, and then I just said, "Did she make it?" And he said no, and then I just collapsed and got a little blurry.
And then, so eventually you went back to work, but it just wasn't. Your head wasn't where it needed to be, yeah, or no?
I remember being on at a homicide. It was a drive-by, and
for work.
For
Channel 11.
Was it Channel 11? No, it was 13. But I remember being on scene at a homicide. It was a 17-year-old kid, and they were removing his body, but his family and friends were at the scene. And when they were removing the body, people just started dropping to their knees and wailing. And that sound to this day still sticks with me, because it's like a guttural, kind of animalistic sound. And then I thought, after what I experienced with my mom, I was like, oh, heartbreak has a sound. And that's what it is. Yeah,
Too much. And that was eventually you got away from the day-to-day journalist thing, right?
Yeah, there were times, I remember one live shot specifically where an ambulance came by, and I had a flashback. When you see things and hear things, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
But like I said,
sorry,
it's okay. Like I said, there's very vivid memories, and there's also time that I don't have at all. When I came back from the hospital, people started to visit me in my apartment that day. And then I remember it was nighttime at that point, and everyone had gone home, and I was just sitting on my couch, and the TV wasn't on. There was just a lamp, and I started to look at the floor, and I saw like the little stickies from the heart monitor stuff, and then muddy footprints from the firefighters. And I just started manically cleaning. Yeah.
So then, your mom did well for herself. She was well off. She did.
Yeah,
she wasn't worrying about anything. She had decent. I don't know how to say it. How would you say it?
My mom made good money.
Okay.
I'll say that. Yeah.
Okay.
She was a high-ranking executive, made good money.
And then, so I'm trying to get to your case a little bit. Like, what happened after her death? What happened to where you kind of got involved in her hometown, which was Oregon, right?
Klamath County, Oregon. Yeah, so my mom has a ranch there. It's over, I believe, 22 acres. She moved to Klamath County, Oregon, I believe it was 2009, with my grandmother. And beautiful property, like I said, acreage and a main house with 2 stories, and kind of wraparound porch, guest house, riding arena for the horses.
Wow.
Yeah, a beautiful, beautiful location. And but she didn't stay there very long. She could work remote, so she was on the East Coast with me for some time. She was in Washington, and there was a very close family friend of hers, Renee Pereira, Talon Pereira, and she had a daughter, Christine Pereira, who's my age.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother and my brother met them through 4-H activities back in the Bay Area. And when my grandmother got sick, and my mom was traveling a lot, they came and lived on the ranch and were taking care of my grandma and helping out. Very close family friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my grandmother passed away, they stayed on the ranch. And, as my mom traveled and lived different parts, they were just kind of there and overseeing things. So when my mom passed away, there was immediate conversations about will, and it was pretty upsetting. But so Renee and her daughter, these are the two defendants in my mom's criminal case. They were living on the ranch at the time, and she had told me that there was this 2018 will, which was the last will and testament of my mom's. Well, actually, let me backtrack because I think this is important.
Mm-hmm.
Before she went into surgery for her heart surgery,
Mm-hmm.
she called me, and I was packing a go bag for her, things to make her comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to say, if I don't make it, this is kind of what I want, with the dog and this and that. And I was like, we're not talking about
Right.
it. Yeah. I was like, we're going to stay positive.
I hate when people do that. It's like, stop, we're
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of important, but you don't want to do
I know,
that.
looking back now, right?
Right.
I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But
you don't want a person in that frame of mind when
Yeah.
they're going in.
yeah, I just felt like it just felt negative,
Right,
and I didn't
right.
want to think about it.
No, I
But
get it.
so I didn't have conversations about who had the will, and was it none of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So she tells me that she has this 2018 will, and it names me and my brother as the heirs and beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were kind of operating under that for a little over 2 months. And there were some issues, so I obviously had to get a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get an email from my lawyer, and it said, take a deep breath before you open this. And then I opened the PDF file, and it was a will that was alleged to have been signed by my mom in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And it disinherited me. It disinherited my sister-in-law. It disinherited my dad. It made Renee the executor of the estate, which she would have been in the 2018 will. And then it gave 80% of my mother's estate to her daughter, Christine Pereira, and 20% to my biological brother, but that was in a trust by Renee. So everything basically went to these two women. And of course now we know that will was fake. It was
That will was
forged.
fake.
Yeah.
So when it first happened, originally, the one will's got you in there, and you guys are running.
Yeah.
Where'd they find this other will? Like all of a sudden, because you said they were running under a 2018 will.
Yeah.
That had you and your brother and everybody as the beneficiaries.
Right. I didn't know about the fake will, the 2022 will, until I got an email from my lawyer got an email asking me if I had known about a 2022 will. And I was like, no, I have no idea what that is. But that was it. And then it was the end of the conversation, and they filed it with the court. I didn't know it was filed. I didn't see it. And in fact, my lawyer at the time, because he also wasn't notified, he was on the court site looking at another case, and he just saw my mom's name and was like, what's that? And boom, click it. And then he sees this will. And when I opened it, I had no proof at the time, but I just knew that my mom wouldn't have a disinherited me and other members of my family.
She was living with you.
Yeah.
Was there any chance in your head that you thought this was real, or you knew from
None.
the get that like this is bullshit?
Yeah, several reasons. First of all, I knew my mom wouldn't have disinherited me, but my nephew, I believe he was 1 or 2 at the time, and Lucas, and he was my mom's world, and I think he was 5th in line in the fake will, and I just knew that if my mom had made a will after Lucas's birth, she probably would have made him number 1.
Right.
And then there was this weird caveat of the fake will had this fund, this $5,000 dog fund for my mom's dog, a poodle. and it said that there's this fund for $5,000 for the dog, and when the dog dies, the remainder of that fund goes to Christine Pereira's kids. And so I thought my mom wouldn't leave $5,000 for her dog and not her grandson. So.
Right. So okay. So 2018, you got this will. You think everything's good. Your mom dies. You think that's what you guys are operating off of. Then you find out there's this 2022 will. You knew it was bullshit from day one.
100%.
And then what did you do?
Yeah. So
this is in a small town, right?
This
in
is
Oregon. This
rural Oregon.
Rural Oregon, and you're out here. So what do you do?
Yeah, I know. And I hadn't been to Klamath County probably since 2010, 2011. So
it was never really your home. Your mom
right.
settled there a little bit,
right.
but I mean,
I visited, but I was on the East Coast,
yeah.
living my own
life,
my own world there. So I say, well, we got to contest this. This is fake. And
did the lawyer believe you that it was fake, or
yes?
Okay,
yeah.
So you guys knew from again that we got to figure this out because this is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, he took my word, right? I was like, I don't have any proof at the time, but I knew it wasn't real, and so then I had to hire another lawyer that did litigation, and I hired a handwriting expert.
Wow.
And for handwriting experts, you have to submit examples of the person's signature, right? And so one of the examples that I submitted was the 2018 will. And I got very lucky. It just so happened that the signature that was used to fake the will, the 2022 will, was the signature on the 2018 will. So it's very, when you see it in court and you see it like the overlay of it going on, it matches exactly.
Wow.
So then I knew, okay, so the author of the 2022 will had to have access, obviously, to the 2018 will. So when you look at things like this, and as a journalist, I'm always like, access, means, and motive, right? So out of all the people in the world, who benefited from that 2022 will, right?
Well, of course.
And then who had access to the real will, right? That was used in a part of it. And so we just kind of went from there. So once the handwriting expert had his analysis done, and then we talked to so in a will you have the decedent, the person who's passed. My mom's stuff was notarized. She made money, and she would do notaries. So you have a decedent, a notary, and then 2 witnesses. This is common. This is what happens. And so what makes my mom's case unique is that, it wasn't just one signature that was forged. Everything was. The notary signature was forged, the seal, my mom's signature, and 2 witnesses.
So this girl and this lady and her mom did all of it? They forged everything?
They're facing, well, I have to be careful about what I talk about right now, but they're facing 13 felonies.
Was there anyone else in on it, though, or there was no witnesses? They just faked it all? Or allegedly faked it all, I guess, or whatever. I don't know how the fuck you gotta say it.
Yeah, I don't use the word allegedly because I know what happened.
Okay. So
But, yeah.
all 4 of them. Because you said there's 2 people. The one whose the will is about, and then there's you said the
you're talking about the
notary, and then the 2 witnesses. So did they fake all 4 of those, or was there anyone else in on it? Or was just the 2 of them the whole way?
Yeah, they were all fake. All the signatures were.
Gotcha.
So and like pen to paper, it didn't look like the other person's signature. So for example, the notary, it didn't look like her signature. One of the witnesses, it didn't look like his signature. The other witness,
who were these people?
Doesn't exist.
Were they friends of theirs, family members that they forged? Like the witnesses. Like who were the witnesses?
There was one, I would say, off connection between one of the defendants and one of the witnesses, but he is a victim. He had nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the second witness on the will, just like I said, doesn't exist. And then so that was kind of, so then we go to the court and we put in this contesting the will, but that took a long time. Took about over 5 months. And during that time, they were still living on the ranch, and they had access to all of my mother's finances and all of her private
why was there when you contest it? So when you contest it, why doesn't everything just freeze right then? Like you can't use any of that stuff. We got to figure that out.
It's a great
because they could just spend away.
Yeah, I got to tell you, probate to me is one of it's a black hole in our legal system. It's horrible to go through. It's horrible to watch. You feel completely powerless. And, I think what's unfortunate, here we are over 2 years later. And a will is someone's dying wish, right?
Right.
And people who leave wills and, want things to go on to their kids and their bloodline, they trust that the system will honor that, right? And what we now know is, obviously, my mom, Kristy Gerlett, wanted her estate, which at the time was estimated at $2 million, to go to me and my brother. And I've seen check after check go to lawyers and other people working for the estate. And the way that probate works is you have, let's say you sell the property, which is obviously what we're going to do. There's like a hierarchy of who gets paid. So you got the administrative fees first. You got all the lawyers, they get paid. The realtor, people that are working for the estate. Then you have like the taxes, claims, health bills, credit cards, that thing. And the very end, the last people that get the scraps are the heirs and the beneficiaries, the kids.
Wow. What a screwed up system.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
So the 5 months that they had access to your account while you were contesting it, and then after the 5 months they're like, okay, we know this is fake, knock it off. How much did they end up spending, or what did they end up doing? So were they like spending like crazy, or what?
Yeah, I mean, that part of the investigation is still ongoing, but there was a lot of thousands of dollars worth of credit card charges. And that's where the frustration comes with me and the sheriff's department there. Things just weren't getting investigated. And so I went from daughter to victim to
kind of
investigative
like
reporter.
Yeah,
and I went all the way up to the Attorney General's office. I went all the way up.
And so now they're facing, you said 13 felonies?
Yeah, so the mom is at 13 felonies and 1 misdemeanor now. The daughter has more because she was just indicted on another forgery case by a grand jury. Yeah, so I didn't know. I knew she had like a shoplifting. She had served time, I think it was 5 days in jail for shoplifting. I didn't know anything about these other forgery incidences, and I know that my mom. I wish my mom would have known what I know now, but. Yeah.
So what? How much did they end up spending? Do we know? I mean, how much did you end up getting, or like how does it?
Well, the estate got the bill, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So you're not working now.
There was online shopping. There was.
You said they went a trip to was there a trip to the casino or something?
Yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, there was a couple casino trips.
Really?
Yeah.
They were just spending your mom's money in the casino trip and everything. Wow, that's crazy. So what are you going to do now? I mean, you're not working. You've been covered. You've been obsessed with your mom's case, and also the fact that you're shining a light on the issues with the system when it comes to probate and wills and all that stuff. I mean, you've been really focused on that stuff.
Yeah, because out of the long list of people who have really kind of desecrated, right, my family, we weren't given a silver spoon, right?
Your mom worked for it.
My Nana came here from Italy 100 years ago and passed down what she had to my grandma, and then my mom, and was supposed to go to us. So it is a actual generational wipeout of my bloodline, and so I hurt for my nephew. But out of the list of people who damaged my family, the women just get lower and lower as the time went on, because law enforcement had a lot of failings, and the judicial system had a lot of failings, and it's to this day it's still a push, and victims should never be in a situation where they have to look into their own crime that they were victimized by. But this is a rural community in southern Oregon. It had a lot of issues before they knew about me, about the case, and I just kind of went on this deep down of that's where it changed for me. Is when I remember I was in my apartment, and I remember like out loud saying, "What the hell is going on in Klamath County, Oregon?" And then I just started to look into things, and here we are. So
you're going to write a book about it, you said.
I am. Yeah, for several reasons, and. There's horrible people involved in this story, but there's also a lot of heroes. I mean, the county, the residents in the county have been so welcoming to me and so supportive to me. And I mean, I could go on and on. I'm not going to name them because they're not here for the publicity, but
Right.
people have done some very amazing acts of kindness, and I'm an outsider to them, right?
What are you going to go move to your mom's ranch? What are you going to do?
Could you see me living?
No, I can't. Living on a
Thanks,
ranch? No.
Yeah, no. There were times where I was at the ranch and I was like, I know my mom's looking down. She is laughing her ass off right now.
You're not a ranch girl.
Yeah, she's laughing her. I didn't know anything about probate. I didn't know anything about livestock and ranching. You know, I'm just like, here I am.
So what are you going to do with yourself?
Yeah, right. What's next? Well,
Yeah.
I want to see the criminal charges, the rest of the criminal charges, to be dropped. There was multiple crimes here, more than just the fake will. I think that, you know, obviously that's the headline.
Yeah.
But there needs to be accountability, and then once the defendants are handled, then there needs to be accountability with law enforcement on what they did and didn't do. And I'm not stopping until that happens.
Jesus. But that's not, you have to get on with your life too. It's not going to bring your mom back. Is there a point where you're like, you know what, they caught the bad guys, they move forward, like you're after every step, you know? Because I know,
no, I'm coming for everyone, because
you're coming for everyone.
Yeah, because the criminals, they're the bottom feeders. You get it, right? They are who they are. They were doing, you know, they are who they are. But the justice system failed me. That sheriff's office failed me. There needs to be change. This can't be allowed to happen to another family. And when I tell you that the Klamath County Sheriff's Office does not give a fuck about me and my family, they don't. Nor does the judicial system. I am one of many people that have had issues with that department. And, you know, I found myself in meetings and on calls, and, you know, a lot of the times I was the only woman in the room. And I know that, you know, they obviously...
Sometimes in those small towns, they don't... They're like, oh, come here, pretty lady.
Yeah.
Did you get some of that?
No, I think they're probably like, listen, bitch. But, you know, you've gotten to know me, right? I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to call you out. I'm going to come with the receipts.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking no for an answer.
Wow, that's crazy, man. And someone just messaged in. They said the attorneys in courts will drain the fund from the estate. They do very minimal. She said she's very familiar with probate. And it's just
once lawyers get involved like that,
lawyers are the worst.
And you know, also something that has hit me too is just the connections between, you know, lawyers and different parties and judges, and like this idea that justice is blind. That is not fact at all. And I can't wait. I can't wait to share some of the details here, because there are absolutely jaw-dropping moments. But you know, I know that it's going to take me time to write a book. It's obviously a lot to deal with. There's court, there's legal, there's the emotional concept of it. But I'm not going to stop until we're at a certain point with the case. And then, you know, as moving forward, I don't want to go back to legacy media. I think you and I have talked about that. But
what do you want to do?
You know,
you have to do something to make money, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe I should paint my toenails and, you know.
OnlyFans. There's a big one.
That's
what everyone says. Yeah. Everyone says I'm going to put my toes on OnlyFans.
Yeah. Is that still a thing?
I don't know. That's what they say.
Does it still exist?
Women say that all the time. Someone will always tell them, it's like, well, you can always put your toes on OnlyFans. I'm like, I guess that's a thing. I don't know. I don't know. But
so,
what are you going to do?
Yeah, you know, you and I have talked about podcasts. I'm curious by nature. I could talk to a wall. I'm very. You and I are similar in that way. We can just go on and ask a whole bunch of questions. People are interesting to me. Human behavior is interesting to me. The why behind things are interesting to me. And it was weird once I decided, my family and I all together decided to go public with my mom's case. I went from the interviewer to the interviewee, and it was just a kind of weird juxtaposition there. But I want to get back into not being the story.
Not being the story. It's funny because with us, I think with the podcasting, all that stuff. I mean, it was just a way to. I mean, we do the morning show and then just go on about our lives. And I think the last month or so, I've been like really focusing on it. You know, just I think with the Ocean Jones and that case kind of. Yeah. I love giving people voices that don't have voices. I mean, I think
100%.
there are people that have been shit on, like, and the people don't listen because they don't have power. And I love telling those stories. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something there for me. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know what you're gonna do.
We'll just
All right, do you feel?
We'll write it out together. This was when I say that this was life changing. I mean, I feel like I have seen a whole different a part of a big portion of our society, right? When we call and report a crime to law enforcement, there is an expectation there that they are going to investigate, that they will communicate with you, that there will be accountability. When we go into a courtroom, right? We're supposed to hold faith that we will have justice, and I just don't know if those things are reality.
I've had so many talks with people that have come to me in the last month that have been wronged by the justice system, and people always say it's the best justice system in the world, and to me, after the stories I hear, I'm like, well, that just says how fucked up the justice system is in the rest of the world, because this one sucks. This one sucks.
Well,
it sucks for criminals. It sucks for victims. It sucks for everybody. I mean, there isn't anyone that gets a fair shake in this system, it doesn't seem like. I mean, how many people are wrongly convicted? You know, how many people? It's just when you're in there, this is totally, and this isn't your thing, but I'm saying, like, people get in there, and like I've been in there, and they get victimized. And they get treated like shit by these guards, and it's someone with a badge. So when they get out now, they hate people with a badge even more than when they went in. And is that the way we want to do this? Like, I mean, there needs to be some dignity to it. I don't know, man. The whole system is effed up from every single piece.
Well, you know,
and there's no way it's justice is blind. If you get if you've got money and you've got power, you have a way better shake than if you don't. I mean, that's common sense. I can tell you case after case that's the case. So it sucks. It's not blind, and it should be blind.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot there.
No. It
Rambling.
hits me because, you know, I had worked with law enforcement in obviously several different states, and I've always had a very good relationship with them as a reporter. I've had family in law enforcement. You know, both of my parents were in the military. But the treatment and the issues within that county sheriff's office is appalling. And the community itself is appalled. And, you know, I think we were kind of hoping for change. But, you know, also, it's not a broad brush. There are very good people at that department right now, and there's people that were at the department that are. It's not everybody. But this is what I've also realized, Z, is to me a quality of a good leader, a politician, any type of leader. Because, you know, when you're a sheriff, you're a politician with a badge.
I know.
And when you're a DA, you're a politician with a law degree, honey.
Isn't that? Aren't both those effed up? The fact that, and here's another thing that drives me crazy is these prosecutors who are elected. The head guy, what's it called? Well, you just said it. What's the
prosecutor?
The prosecutor. What? Yeah, that dude's elected. And
a politician with a law degree. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys will try your case in the media. If it's and you can't say anything because everything can be held against you, so they can say whatever they want. It's like, just shut the fuck up and file your papers and just shut up and let the case play out. But it's for show, it's for votes, it's just a sick system. The whole system is jacked up. Like, the sheriff shouldn't be an elected position.
Well, the former sheriff actually made you know, as you know, the ABC affiliate in Portland, which is the #1 news market in that state, has been covering my mom's story. And the sheriff think about this, a sheriff, the sheriff at the time, he was Sheriff Chris Kaber. You should Google him and see what comes up. So he made a public statement against me, the victim of the crime. And I thought, there's a lot of arrogance there, right? There's a lot of ego.
Absolutely.
And sheriffs are like, I don't have a boss.
Right. I don't have a boss. And anyone that doesn't have a boss that's supposed to work for the people, the system's jacked up.
Right.
Right. Up.
So, you know, they're obviously going to look at me and, you know, I'm like, what have you done? Why hasn't this been done? What are you doing? We are literally over 2 years here, and there still hasn't been charges pressed in certain areas.
Really? 2 years?
1,000%. The only criminal charges that these women are facing right now is surrounding the fake will. There's many other aspects. And
what type of what type of sentence are they facing?
That's a great question. Definitely prison time for sure. I mean, 13 felonies is a lot. Right?
Good.
But here's the thing: are you going to ask me how many days they've spent in jail after being
None,
indicted by
probably.
a grand jury?
None.
On 13 felonies, y'all. Add the math. Yeah. So the mother not once, and the daughter think about this. She spent one night in jail for one felony on faking a doctor's note. And she spent 0 nights in jail for 13 felonies on faking a $2 million will. Dude. And then, even when she was jailed for the felony with the doctor's note, the judge released her the next day. Yeah.
I mean, we could see her all day talk about how jacked up the justice system is, and that's just no more proof right there.
You know, there's times sometimes when I go to court virtually. I'm sure they don't want me there, right? But I do have constitutional rights as a crime victim. And so I'm able to attend.
You go to the town and you go there, like, do you go there or do you virtually?
Virtually. When I say that I have been to every single hearing, both in the criminal and the civil case, except for 2 that I didn't have access to, I have been to every single one. But, you know, there's times when I'm like, oh, I walk in, or not walk in there, but I'm there virtually, and I'm thinking, okay, are we just going to pretend like, you know, no one knows each other, and, you know, we're here, and it's at times it feels a little bit charade-y, if I'm going to be frank. And the truth is, too, you know, people, the fact that I'm speaking out and I'm vocal while this is still ongoing, there are some risks to that, but I don't give a fuck, because I know what I'm saying is true. And, you know, we have to hold the system and those in power accountable, because when you vote people in, you can vote them out. And, you know, we kind of get stuck, Z, on the, you know, presidential, you know, races or senators, but
the local stuff's more consequential to us.
I mean, with you or someone you love or a neighbor or a friend, you know, they're going to have that DA. You're going to have to deal with, you know, the judge. You're going to have to deal with local sheriffs or police department, county commissioners. These are huge, absolutely they directly impact you and your loved ones to a ground level. And it's what's going on in Klamath County should not be allowed to happen anywhere.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. If people want to follow it, because I know you got millions of people following your story from around the world.
I hit 500,000. I was like, oh, because I remember. I mean, I wasn't even, you know, I didn't have that type of traction when I was on TV for reporting. Yeah. But and I've asked myself, you know, why people are so interested. But I think it's just kind of what you were saying. I mean, do you think people realize the system's broken?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I say it. I see it. I say it. I don't know. I think the average person probably goes through their life and doesn't think that the justice system
unless
is great.
It impacts you directly.
Unless it impacts you, yes. We are such a society of, as long as it doesn't like deporting people that freaking shouldn't be deported. Well, hey, maybe they're probably drug dealers, or it ain't me. And I don't care about it. You know, I have my own life to worry about. I got my bills to pay. I got my kids to worry about. I'm not worried about it.
You know, I think that I was in a unique position because I obviously was the beneficiary of a large life insurance policy, and I was like a poker player. Like, we're all in. This is we're fighting this. This is bullshit. So I had the luxury to be able to go on all in that. Yeah. I also have my experience as a reporter, journalist. I know who to call, the questions to ask, and I'm also very stubborn and very tenacious, right?
Well, and we've talked about, like, if someone doesn't have that, how do you fight the legal system? You know, if you don't have money and you're going to work every day and you don't have the luxury, like, what? Why do you? Okay, whether it's medical or whether it's legal, you need to be your own best advocate, and people don't have time sometimes.
I know.
And it just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing,
Medical
right?
system is jacked.
I'm not married. I don't have children.
So you focus on this.
Yeah, I don't have to show up in other aspects and other relationships. I was very lucky to be, when I say lucky, I mean to be able to fight it, right? But I would feel bad for someone like you who has all these other responsibilities.
Dude, I don't have time. You got to take it. You just got to take whatever, because you don't have money and you don't have influence. You don't have whatever, so you just take whatever they give you and you move on. And if someone, your loved one, is wronged, well, you got your own life you got to deal with. You don't have time to spend all the time dealing with that, and you don't know how. Like, my buddy is getting screwed left and right by Lucas County right now. And we had this exact same conversation I'm having with you. And there's 20. I'm not going to give you the whole story, but there's 26 gambling spots in this town. There's these these online gaming, what do they call it, casino, they're like online casinos or whatever. None of them are legally licensed. It's illegal in the state of Ohio. Toledo's the only one that has any, and there are 26 of them. And when my one guy got hemmed up because it's in one of his properties, so now he's hemmed up by trying to kick him out because he said that's illegal. Anyway, my point being is that he's a former lawyer, so he's got time to fight this and spend time. And I asked him if this was an ordinary person, what would they be doing? He's like, they'd be fucked.
100%.
They'd be fucked.
100%.
So it's like the law shouldn't be like that. Like
no.
he has time to. He knows the law. He has time to do it. They fucked around, found out, and he had time. And he's suing everybody.
Is that what people are doing with me? Are they?
Right? I don't know. It's insane, man. The system, so many of these systems nowadays are broken, and that's I don't know. It just is what it is, I guess.
I did want to ask you
Yeah.
what did you find intriguing about, as you've kind of learned a little bit, off the mic, as one would say, about my fight.
But your fight, the thing that drove me crazy is that they were allowed to continue to spend while the investigation was going on. Like as soon as you contested the will and said this is fake, everything should have been frozen right then. And the fact that they were allowed to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars after you caught them is mind-boggling to me.
Well, the charging happened prior to that, but what they were allowed to do was stay on the ranch.
And use credit cards, right?
And that happened before I had protested the will. But then they were allowed to, think about this, these women who were just obviously indicted on the fraud against the Kristy Gerlett estate were able to live on the Kristy Gerlett ranch rent-free. In fact,
unbelievable.
The estate, i.e. me and my brother's inheritance, were paying the bills.
Why couldn't you kick them off?
Yeah, up until this, I didn't know about squatting rights.
It's all those things people don't know until it happens to you. You don't know.
But they weren't. The daughter wasn't considered squatter. She did get evicted. It was a whole damn thing.
Dude. All right. So how do they follow you on your socials? Where do they find you?
Yeah, definitely.
To find more about this.
So
case?
I would just go to Kristy Gerlett on Facebook.
Gerlett. It's on the screen. So
yeah. Can I say one more thing real quick? I just wanted to, because I know that there's going to be people listening to this on the West Coast.
Okay.
And I'm not going to get emotional because I told myself I'm tired of crying on camera or on mic. There are people in that county that, to me, are like walking human angels. And again, I'm going to respect their privacy because the acts of kindness that they continue to show me and my family, they don't do for the clout. But when I tell you that they have lifted me up in really dark moments, they have. And to the officials, and they know who they are, and they know what they did, and they know what they didn't do, I am going to make sure that you are held accountable to the highest level of the law.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, because we talked about how you, we talked about you being able to spend time on this, because you're not worried about money, and I'm not saying you're not rich, of course, but I'm just saying you're able to spend time focused on this. But do you think that it's hurt you mentally in the fact that if you had to work and you had to have a job, maybe you'd be out more? I don't know how it just come off the top of my head. Do you think that you'd be in a better mental space if you had to be out working and taking your mind off it? Because right now I think you focus on this 100.
No, I would say it was the opposite, because I had that leave of absence in the beginning, right? Because I was having a lot of symptoms and it was hard.
Yeah.
I had to take another one at the end of that same year because it was just becoming too much. The lawyers and the courts and the calls and the being on live television, multiple times a day, and have to be on, right? While I'm dealing with all of this, drastically impacted everything. But
so you're saying it would have been worse?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, this is. I had to take time off for the second time.
I mean, it's not even. It would have been. You did it, and it was worse.
Right.
That you had to go.
But
you had to go to a real job.
I do appreciate you asking about the mental health aspect, because that's not what is frequently asked, you know.
Well, you and I had the conversation off the air. I do worry about you. Like, you focus on this so much. I mean, you don't. You got. Look, I think good you have dogs because you have to take them out at some point. But I mean, other than that,
the barking crazy dogs.
Yeah, you're not really having a relationship. You don't have anyone to answer to. You can, I've talked about this a million times. You and I talked about it off the air about how you can literally live in a house and with social media and apps and delivery and all that, you can literally stay in your house all day, every day, and live a seamlessly normal life.
Yeah, I think very early on, I never saw a light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go down with this ship. I'm gonna fight till the end, and whatever happens, happens. But because I'm 100% all the time, right? When you're dealing with the type of people that I'm dealing with and you're calling people out, I have to make sure that my shit's in check. So I got the documents, I got the recordings, and you need to tell me what is happening. It is totally exhausting. I don't think that I'm going to be able to start to process this and heal from it until I'm out of it, because I've been in fight and flight for a long time.
Right.
For a long time.
And what time frame? How long do you think before this is just done and you can move on? I mean, we're here January, we're April now. What do you think? Is it?
Yeah,
I mean, I know
you're talking about
the legal system. You never know, but
the criminal stuff.
Just tell you.
I think I mean, listen, anything can happen, right?
Right.
But I think this time, by this time next year,
another year. You think you have to deal with this?
this time next year,
that's
the criminal stuff will be done with.
The legal, the justice system is so fucking slow. I mean, these poor. I've heard
who
victims,
wins though? When there's delays, right? And this happened to me on the civil side a lot. When there's delay after delay after delay, who's bringing home who's making bank during that process?
Well, the system,
the lawyers.
Yeah, the
lawyers.
part of the system.
Right. So if we have a hearing on, let's say, I don't know, in January, and it gets postponed till, I don't know, April, you're still engaging with those lawyers, you're still prepping, you're still handling things. So, people benefit by
hate lawyers.
The long process,
and I fucking hate. I like lawyers personally. I don't like the profession. I have many lawyer
snakes in the
friends,
grass.
but it's just such
I
a
am
snaky
so
ass.
blessed. There was a time where my only prayer was, God, send me a really good lawyer.
I know.
And I got her.
Right.
They're all women outside of Portland. I'm super blessed with mine. But yeah, lawyers are, I mean, they're there for the money. And think about that. Probate, the system of probate stands on what? The death of someone, right? And the grief of somebody.
Yeah.
These are people that capitalize on these horrific experiences. Are we getting questions, comments?
Oh, by the way, Sugar Vermont says, "Hey, Kristy, hey."
Sugar. Oh, can I tell a quick sugar story?
Sure.
Oh my God. Okay, so I was at 13. I was on break, and I went through Starbucks, and I was in the 13 ABC car, and Sugar opens the window. She gives me my mocha, and she's like, "Girl, I'm about to do some TV. We need to get together." I was like, "Okay." And I've done multiple interviews with her. She's amazing. And you know what's funny
crazy.
is when I first went public, people started to reach out to the district attorney's office, not the sheriff's, the district attorney's office. And do you know? Think about this. Funny enough. Do you know who the very first person was to call that office in rural Oregon?
No.
Sugar
Oh,
Vermont.
Of course.
I'm on a plane flying to Oregon, and I get a screenshot from Sugar, and I'm like, that's going to go well.
In rural Oregon.
That's going to go well.
I'm a drag queen.
I'm a drag queen.
You were making...
Don't do that to the TV lady, the news lady. I was like, oh my God, I need to FOIA that voicemail.
All right, Kristy Gerlett, you were an
Thanks,
absolute
guys.
delight. You're going to come in, I know, every once in a while and come hang out with us. And then people can follow you on social medias for your case, and I appreciate you talking about it. Thank you, darling.
Thanks.
Kristy Gerlett.